Hello, I'm Pip Courtney and welcome to a new series of A Taste of Landline. Right through the summer, we're going to showcase some of our most memorable stories with a special emphasis on food and where it comes from. For a brief moment, avocado prices hit an astonishing $6 each. That shortage made national headlines, and recently avocados were back in the news as a reason why young people can't afford a house. Avocados, we can't seem to get enough of them. The world's appetite for avocado is insatiable, and with huge plantings going in around the globe, the industry's banking on consumption going up even more. Australia might be a small market, but it stood out. For after a decade of 7% growth every year, we're now the fourth biggest eaters of avocados in the world.
It was about 1.5 kilos per person, or 1.6, and that's doubled over the last 10 years to 3.2 kilos per person.
The rise in consumption has been driven by the industry's promotion of the fruit's healthy monounsaturated fats and our changing diet. Avocado is central to two of Australia's most popular cuisines, Mexican and Japanese, and has been taken up by fast food chains and the food service sector. It might have started as a salad ingredient, but avocados are now in smoothies, sandwiches, dips, pasta and cheesecakes, and atop tacos, pizzas and fries.
About avocados is it's versatile. It goes fantastically with chocolate for a dessert, but obviously Aussies love Vegemite, and it's brilliant with Vegemite. Gooey poached egg, anything, absolutely anything.
Want evidence of rising avocado consumption? Then go out for breakfast. Chef Matt Carnell says his Brisbane customers would riot if he took avo on toast off the menu.
Without a doubt, our biggest seller on the menu, and it has been for over 2 years. Every week we do over 240 serves of avocado. It equates for a huge percentage of our takings each week.
Lachlan Donovan switched from beef cattle to avocados 25 years ago. Based at Childers, 4 hours north of Brisbane, he now has 350 hectares of trees on 4 farms. His faith in the industry is on show in the packing shed, which is now home to a new multi-million-dollar grader. Imperfections are spotted 2 ways, from 30 photos taken of each avocado and IR or infrared.
This is all one piece of fruit as it rotates. It takes photos all the way around the piece of fruit so that we know that we're grading it correctly. So that's IR and that's colour.
We're hoping that it's going to make quality a hell of a lot better. So, we're still in the learning stages, 2.5 months in, and it seems like it's doing the trick.
The Donovans have invested millions so they can cope with increasing tonnages from their 70,000 trees and to set up the next generation.
We're still planting trees at the moment. I've got 2 boys that are very keen on it, so I've got to keep them busy. So yeah, at this stage we're still expanding. We've got to fill that shed.
One reason we're eating more avocados is there's now a year-round supply. More areas are being planted and climate and geographic boundaries are being pushed as far south as Tasmania.
We're seeing a lot of our grape growers putting trees in the Mildura region. A lot of the banana growers are putting trees in the banana region. So we're starting to see them, they're coming up everywhere at the moment.
But key to filling the peak summer market is WA, which supplies avocados when the eastern states can't.
West Australia is critical. We're now 35-40% of production in Australia, and we compete head-on with New Zealand. They're our direct competitors in the market.
Sites like Pinterest and Instagram have given the industry a dream run, with avocados the most posted food on Instagram, which has 400 million monthly users.
It's extremely powerful. Images are what drives social media at Instagram level particularly. And even Facebook and Twitter, if you've got an image, it's a much more successful communication than just words.
With all the good news on the avocado front, Anthony Allen was horrified when in January the industry made the news for all the wrong reasons: a national shortage. Supplies were so tight, there was rationing at supermarkets, avocado surcharges in cafes, and prices peaked at $6 a piece.
The level of media coverage, even into the US, into the global media scene, was beyond belief. The extent that it went to showed us that the product is quite essentially important to a number of people. There's a silver lining to the let's say, the pain that was gone through.
The high prices hurt many food businesses unable to take avocado off their menus and made the industry look unreliable. Neil Delroy says it can't happen again.
I shuddered when I saw the prices, when I saw the $5.99, because we know that once they go over about $3.50, the consumption drops off dramatically, and I knew there was a lot of supply still there, so you could see a train wreck coming.
One bright note is the potential of Tasmania to fill that tight summer period. Former WA grower Paul Bidwell moved to Ulverston in the state's north to semi-retire. Those plans are now in disarray, as what he thought would be a small 3-hectare hobby orchard has been unexpectedly productive. He was banking on 2 to 3 tonnes a hectare.
We've currently got a crop for next year that's probably going to be pushing 15 to 20 tonnes per hectare in some places. So that's a pretty staggering amount of fruit for a place that's not supposed to grow avocados.
An experiment netting in some reluctant bees to pollinate his trees just made his situation worse.
In the netted area, it's approaching about 40 tonnes per hectare, which is a pretty spectacular crop by any standards. The tonnages are there primarily because the climate essentially was a lot warmer in Tassie.
Avocados Australia has done a lot of work to lift consumption, and it won't stop at 3.2 kilos per person. It's now aiming for 5.
It's not at saturation point by any means. There's only 30% of people that would have an avocado on toast during the year. So the opportunity for growth in even the basic things is massive. It's not even to saturation point on lunch, let alone dinner. And then you've got a whole bunch of things in between.
As you can see there, that's the size of the tuber that it produces, and it's lovely to eat.
Hello, I'm Fiona Breen. This story is about one of Australia's most unique cattle musters. And no, it's not the northern Australian outback, but down south in Tasmania. They are scenes that could be from a movie. But they're real, and they're not from yesteryear, but from the present day. On a Tasmanian cattle property. This is the story of one family hanging on to a proud Australian tradition while embracing high-tech farming. Mustering has never been so much fun or so spectacular. This patch of grass off northwest Tasmania is Robbins Island. A unique 10,000 hectare farm edged by Bass Strait and buffeted by the notorious Roaring 40 winds.
50 kilometres away at Cape Grim, they've got one of the 5 baseline air monitoring stations that are positioned around the world, and when the wind's blowing from the west, it's the cleanest air in the world. It's cleaner than what they measure in Antarctica, which kind of I find hard to believe, but just the way the air circulates and pollution can circulate, that's what they say, and they've got the best instruments in the world to measure it.
John and Keith Hammond are an institution in northwest Tasmania. Their American drawl stands out. A leftover of a childhood spent on the Hammonds' Broadacre wheat farm in an area known as the Oklahoma Panhandle. But they are fourth-generation Tasmanian farmers. In their early 20s, they swapped the windswept plains of Oklahoma for the windswept islands of their mother's land. It couldn't be more different. This is perfect beef country, with a system of natural sandbars and tidal channels that allows them to work the islands like paddocks. This posse of local stockmen and women are willing volunteers, and today they're moving a mob of 800.
The water's run out a long way, look at that.
It's an 11-kilometre journey that sees the cattle winding their way between pooling seawater and a rushing incoming tide. They're on a route only known to the Hammond family and a few locals.
Well, we were the first ones to figure it out. Nobody had ever taken cattle along here, mainly because the mouth of the Montague River gets very, very soft up there, and probably anyone that had tried to ride a horse through there bogged it, as I did the first time I tried. So we just moved further out and explored around, and we found we came halfway out to the main channel. We could actually, cross the cattle without much trouble.
A wrong turn and these cattle could end up in deep water, literally.
If we left it another hour, we'd all be swimming.
Local cowgirl Jocelyn Flint is a regular Robbins Island musterer. She loves the chance to work the cattle, and she loves to let fly on her trusty steed.
Push up! It's a bit windy. Oh, you never get over the scene. It's beautiful. Yep. But I never ever stop doing it. I do love it. It's just so different every time. Like, these cows are good today. Sometimes they're totally feral, and we've got to chase them full bore to slow them down or turn them, and it's always different. It's never the same. It's never boring.
Halfway through the muster and all is going to plan. But there's no time to be complacent. This is a particularly valuable mob of cattle, and the Hammonds don't want to lose any.
This is the fun part. This is always usually the deepest, but by the time the cattle, they've done two channels, they get to here, they usually just plod straight through. But no, they're good walkers, these Wagyu. Like, we'll do 11 kilometres here, which would just be nothing for them.
These Wagyu cattle are special. They're known as the caviar of the beef world. They fetch top dollar at market, and this mob is worth over $3 million. While in the early days the cattle were sent live to a Japanese feedlot, today they're processed locally, boxed and branded as Robins Island Wagyu and sent across Asia.
Singapore and China would be the two main ones, but Korea is a new customer that's just come on board.
It's taken more than 20 years to build up the numbers to a herd of 7,000, with 2,000 breeding cows.
With Wagyu, it's so important to identify your good producers because there's such a variation in price received.
It can be thousands of dollars, so tracking each individual animal is vital to a healthy bottom line.
If you have a marble score 9 calf, for example, or animal, ends up a marble score 9, the current grid's $13 a kilo dressed. So at 400 kilo plus dressed animal, you're looking at a $5,000 carcass.
The marbling score is a fat standard set by Meat Standards Australia. It's the level of thin, spidery webs of fat throughout the cut. They say that the marbled fat in the Wagyu beef has a lower melting point, which, when cooked, tends to infuse into the meat. A score of 9 is high. It translates into an expensive steak with a price tag of $100 in a top Australian restaurant. The Hammonds like it cooked on the barbie.
For Wagyu beef, I don't think there's any real trick. Some people turn it once, either side. Others turn it numerous times. You can cook it sort of medium, well done, rare. We like it sort of medium. We like for it to be cooked enough to where the fat sort of melts through it. It's a softer fat, and you get more of the taste of the beef with the fat sort of melted a little bit through it.
The Hammonds like to eat Wagyu with a marbling score of around 7.
We actually prefer, when we're cooking steaks, not to have the highest grade. It's almost too rich. I like it, but a lot of Westerners tend to prefer it just a little bit lower marbling.
For these weary and hungry drovers, there's plenty of Wagyu on the barbie. Payment for a job well done. The verdict is positive.
It is juicy. It is. It's a beautiful steak.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's juicy. I'm going to make Dad have some Wagyu on our farm now, just to have some of their meat.
I think I focused on rural women because there wasn't a magazine, and also because that's who I relate to most, being a female grazier.
G'day, I'm Sean Murphy. On the Hawkesbury River here, sadly, the once mighty oyster industry has been all but wiped out by disease. And across New South Wales, there's been a steady decline in production and the number of active growers. But things are changing. Ewan McCash was a finalist in the New South Wales Farmer of the Year last year. He's part of a new generation of oyster growers modernising Australia's oldest aquaculture industry. On a 20-hectare lease on the Clyde River near Bateman's Bay in New South Wales, he grows Sydney Rock, Pacific and native Angazi oysters.
We bought a traditional labour-intensive stick and tray farm 11 years ago. We've converted it over to basket systems, and we've utilised the latest in grading and cultivation methods. It's probably now one of the most modern farms you'll find in New South Wales. And on a day-to-day basis, we'll be out there harvesting oysters, probably handling 600 or 1,000 baskets. I mean, overall, throughout the year, we sell about 60,000 dozen.
It's not just on the river that Ewan McCash and his father Kevin have improved their enterprise. They also use the latest electronic grading technology. But what really stands their business apart and is winning plaudits from beyond the industry is their approach to marketing. Last year they launched Signature Oysters, a marketing collective for growers around Australia.
We have suppliers in Moreton Bay, Queensland, to the most southerly oyster growing estuary at Bruny Island in Tasmania, and right across to the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia. Being a one farmer on one river, I could never supply year round, ultimately end up letting chefs down in terms of consistency of supply and even quality at some times.
The emphasis is now on promoting the unique regional flavours of Australian oysters.
On the Clyde River, my oysters have been described as having really baked cream richness and a gingery spice, but it absolutely varies between each region, and that's what we're trying to celebrate, is how different oysters can be and the signature flavour that the different farmers, the different estuaries, the growing techniques will add to the eating experience.
In an industry that's traditionally been a price taker, the Signature Group is now commanding top dollar from restaurants such as Pay Modern at Sydney's 5-star Four Seasons Hotel.
We get different regions every time when we get our oysters, depending on which region is actually the best at the moment, and I can rely on them from week to week to get the best product that I need.
And how important is provenance, where it comes from?
Well, I think with the changing climate and the dining clientele in general is quite interested to know where the food is coming from. People seem to want to connect more with the food they're eating, and provenance is one of those first things that people tend to ask for when it comes to what they're eating. They want to know where the fish is coming from. They want to know where the oysters are coming from, and we can tell them down to specifically which actual grower is giving them to us.
Cal and Caroline Henry are part of the Signature Group. Their lease is at Womboyne Lake on the far south coast of New South Wales.
We grow Sydney Rock oysters only. It's a family operation, just my wife and I, and we employ a casual as well. We do about 30,000 dozen a year. We're a very remote place, and so it's good water, good, nice, clean water.
But water, or more particularly rain, can be their biggest problem.
The big positive with what I'd say floating culture is that now women can actually do it, and we're having a lot more women come in the industry, whereas years ago with your static culture, your big packs of sticks, you couldn't lift them. Whereas women, as you can see, they're not that heavy, depending on how many you put in, you can actually lift them yourself. So more younger women come in the industry, and so you can actually have family businesses where husband and wives can work together equally.
New South Wales has Australia's oldest oyster industry, but it's been in severe decline since the turn of the century. Diseases like the mysterious QX virus and the Pacific oyster mortality syndrome have hit hard. Competition from South Australia and Tasmania has also had an impact. Since the year 2000, about half of the state's permit holders have left the industry.
Well, we're going to have a very small industry if it continues, so the challenge for us is to put the brakes on and start to reverse that trend.
Veteran grower Ian Crisp is co-chair of the new industry strategy group. With his wife Rose, he produces about 20,000 dozen Sydney rock oysters each year on their Manning River lease near Taree.
I think there's a huge amount of work to be done. I mean, at the end of the day, the public want Sydney rock oysters. They're prepared to pay good money for Sydney rock oysters at a retail level. Why can't some of that money be transferred onto the grower so we can reinvest and become more profitable?
On the Clyde River, Ewan and Kevin McCash are also trialling new technology which can help them manage their business with a mobile phone.
You just get an alert, but if you want to know more, you can just click on this screen here and it takes you down to the next level to show you exactly what's going on in terms of salinity, temperature, depth.
If we can use the tech to make the person eating the oyster feel like they were on the farm when it was harvested, that's what we're going to do.
And in the last 2 years, we're actually seeing a marked increase in Sydney rock oyster production, which is terrific. We're also seeing Pacific oyster culture increasing, as well as the native oyster or Angazi oyster increasing in production as well. And that's great for consumers of oysters. High quality seafood, and they get a choice.
Really lends itself to the slow braise, so anything that you put with it, honey and thyme's a match made in heaven. The flavour really comes out when you put it into a pie as well, so the final process, you know, it's not too gamey, it's a little bit sweet, it's beautiful.
I convinced him that 200 was a good number, and the market starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, and by 7:45 we had nothing left.
I thought we'd be eating pies for months, but as it turned out, they loved them.
Well, that's the program. We hope you enjoyed it. Coming up next week, a little taste of everything.
We just can't keep up.
We have a waiting list.
5 years ago, if you said I'd be a chook farmer, I wouldn't have taken you too seriously.
And I would have said, no way!
It's the 10-year scientific investigation into how to make lamb chops healthier.
You go anywhere in the world and you'll never see anything like that.
Don't forget, we're on iView, Facebook and Twitter, and our last regular Landline for 2016 is on this Sunday at noon.